Good evening, everyone. I stand before you today, humbled and grateful, to share something very close to my heart. From the moment I first recognized my voice and the words I spoke, I discovered that language is more than just sound. It is the first bridge we build between our inner world and the world we share. The you I address now are that first language. You taught me patience when I stumbled, and you embraced me when I found the rhythm of belonging. You were there in every whisper of encouragement from my family, especially my dear sister Sofia, whose laughter taught me to speak with joy and whose courage taught me to speak with purpose. Together we learned that to speak is to serve, to articulate is to connect, to listen is to lead. I often reflect on what it means to carry a legacy. It is not simply to inherit words, titles, or traditions. It is to inhabit them, to enliven them, and to pass them on with integrity. My first language was not just the words I learned in childhood, it was the language of respect, of dedication, of responsibility. It is the language of Spain, of its history and its promise, and the language of every young person who dares to believe that we can make things better. My sister Sofia and I walk this path together. She reminds me that strength lies not in standing alone, but in standing side by side. And you, language, memory, home, community, you hold us together. You are the first, precisely because you remind us of what truly matters, our shared roots, our shared hopes. So tonight, I ask you, remain our first language, speak through us when our words falter, guide us when our way is uncertain. For in you we find our anchor, and in you we find our wings. Let us together speak of kindness, trust, and unity. Let us together build a voice that belongs to many, not just one. And above all, let us speak with the courage of our convictions, the humility of our service, and the joy of our companionship. Of all the things that shape us, the first is always the quietest. It is not an accomplishment, nor a title, nor a moment large enough to be remembered by history. It is something far gentler, the early sense of who we are, the feeling of belonging to a place, to a family, to a rhythm of life that teaches us how to stand, how to speak, and how to understand the world. When I reflect on personal connection and identity, I return not to grand events, but to the subtle lessons that formed the foundation beneath my steps. There is something profoundly intimate in recognizing the sources that define us, those influences that never raised their voices, yet spoke to us more deeply than anything else ever could. Identity, for me, has never been a single word. It is a constellation of small truths, the sound of familiar voices in the morning, the warmth of shared traditions, the responsibility that comes with knowing others look to you, and the awareness that your path is not yours alone. There is a quiet power in that understanding. It makes you reflect carefully before taking each new step, and it helps you realize that who you are is woven from the people and moments that shaped you long before you recognized their impact. From childhood, I learned that connection begins with listening. Before we speak, we absorb expressions, gestures, habits, values. We learn not just how to communicate, but how to feel empathy. Identity is not carved out in isolation. It grows from the presence of others, and from the lessons we internalize simply by being near them. This connection becomes our internal language, the one we rely on even when the world becomes complicated or overwhelming. It tells us who we are when expectations rise, and it keeps us grounded when responsibilities expand. In moments of uncertainty, I often return to the early sense of belonging that shaped me. Everyone carries a version of this, a memory, a voice, a piece of advice, a gesture of affection. These are not just memories, they are anchors. They keep us steady when we must move forward, and they remind us why we choose the direction we take. Identity is not about perfection. It is about understanding oneself clearly enough to know what you stand for, what you wish to become, and how you wish to serve those around you. As I grew older, connection took on a deeper meaning. It was no longer just about the ties that shaped my childhood, but about the bonds that continued to guide me, the relationships that carried strength, trust, and companionship. Identity evolves, but its root remains the same, the feeling of being part of something bigger, something that gives purpose to our efforts and meaning to our actions. That sense of connection becomes a compass. It reminds you that every choice reflects something about the values that define you. There is a quiet dignity in recognizing where you come from. It doesn't confine you, it prepares you. It offers perspective, grounding, and a sense of continuity. When you understand your identity, you understand the difference between acting for applause and acting for purpose. You realize that responsibility is not a burden, it is a privilege. It allows you to contribute, to uphold, and to grow in ways that serve not only your personal journey, but everyone who looks to you with expectation or hope. Connection also teaches humility. You become aware that you are not the center of your story. You are part of a collective one. Your experiences are shaped by those who came before you and those who walk beside you. Every person, every encounter leaves an imprint. This understanding helps you approach others with respect and sincerity, knowing that identity is something fragile, something shaped with care, something that deserves to be honored. There is strength in embracing both individuality and belonging. It creates a balance, a harmony between self and community. For me, this balance has always been essential. It reminds me that identity is not static. It grows with each responsibility accepted, each challenge faced, each lesson learned. The version of ourselves we become is built over time through persistence, reflection, and a willingness to listen, and through it all, personal connection continues to guide us, gently but firmly, toward becoming the most authentic version of who we are meant to be. When I look ahead, I carry these truths with me. They shape how I speak, how I lead, and how I respond to the world around me. Authenticity is not found in trying to be extraordinary. It is found in being truthful. It is found in remembering the roots that ground us, the relationships that strengthen us, and the identity that steadies us. In every step forward, I remind myself that the most meaningful progress comes when we walk in alignment with who we truly are. Identity, built on connection, becomes a quiet promise to uphold what we value, to honor those who shaped us, and to remain steady in the face of change. It becomes a form of guidance that does not waver, even as challenges grow or responsibilities become larger. And most importantly, it serves as a reminder that personal growth does not require abandoning our origins. On the contrary, growth is strongest when it rises from them. In the end, personal connection and identity are not just concepts to reflect on. They are lived, felt, and carried every day. They influence our words, our decisions, our way of seeing others. They remind us that strength rooted in sincerity lasts longer than any moment of spotlight. They allow us to move forward with confidence, not because we have all the answers, but because we know who we are while searching for them. And so, with each moment, each challenge, each step into the future, I hold close the quiet truths that shaped me. They are my guide, my grounding, my sense of direction. They are a reminder that identity is not a single statement. It is a lifelong conversation between who we were, who we are, and who we hope to become. There are responsibilities that we choose, and there are responsibilities that choose us. Some arrive quietly, through the soft expectations of those who love us. Others come with time, with maturity, and with the understanding that what we carry is not ours alone. When I think about responsibility and harmony between sisters and generations, I think about the invisible thread that ties us together, a thread made of trust, shared history, and the certainty that we walk forward not just for ourselves, but for one another. Growing up, responsibility was not a dramatic declaration. It was something learned in small gestures. It was learning to listen before speaking, to consider the feelings of those around me, to understand that every action reflects something greater than a moment. It was learning that I am part of a continuity, one that stretches backward into the lives and work of those who came before, and forward into the hopes placed in the future, that continuity gives purpose to every effort I make. Harmony between sisters is one of the most natural forms of this continuity. There is a comfort in knowing someone walks beside you, someone who understands your silences as well as your words. The relationship between sisters teaches responsibility in its purest form, not imposed, not demanded, but offered. It is the responsibility of showing up for someone, of supporting them even in their smallest doubts, of celebrating their strengths, and of learning, always, from their differences. This harmony is not built on sameness. It grows from complementing one another. It grows from patience, from shared journeys, from the steady awareness that each of us shapes the other in ways we don't always notice. There is a responsibility in nurturing this bond, in protecting the trust at its core, in making sure that the strength of one becomes the strength of both. As time passes, the responsibilities between sisters become intertwined with the responsibilities passed across generations. We inherit traditions, values, and duties, not as rigid burdens, but as guiding lights. From earlier generations we learn dignity, perseverance, and a commitment to something larger than individual goals. Their experiences form part of our identity, teaching us that harmony is possible even in moments of change, and that respect for the past does not hinder progress, it strengthens it. This intergenerational responsibility is not a weight, it is a gift. It gives shape to our decisions and reminds us that our actions ripple outward, touching lives we may never meet. When we honor the lessons handed down to us, we contribute to a history that is still being written. When we add our own voice, we ensure that history continues with clarity, integrity, and renewed purpose. Living between these two forms of responsibility, the intimate bond with a sister and the lasting legacy of generations, teaches a powerful lesson. Harmony is an active choice. It requires understanding, patience, and a willingness to look beyond oneself. It means recognizing the importance of unity without losing individuality. It means knowing that leadership is not about being above others, but being alongside them, supporting the shared future you hope to build together. In quiet moments, I often reflect on how these responsibilities shape the person I am becoming. They remind me that maturity is not measured by years alone, but by the care we take in fulfilling what is entrusted to us. When you carry responsibility with sincerity, you move with intention. You become more aware of the example you set, the words you choose, the energy you bring into every room. You begin to see that harmony is not something achieved once, it is something practiced every day. With a sister, this practice is constant. Together you learn to resolve differences not by overpowering each other, but by understanding each other. You learn to support not just in public moments, but in the quiet, unseen ones. You learn that harmony does not erase challenges, it transforms them into opportunities for growth and connection. And you learn that responsibility between sisters is a lifelong promise, one rooted in loyalty, kindness, and respect. Across generations, harmony carries another dimension. It becomes a bridge between past and future. It teaches that progress is strongest when built on a foundation of gratitude for the sacrifices made before us, for the guidance offered to us, and for the trust placed in us. It reminds us that responsibility is not about perfection, but about dedication. It is about striving to honor the values we inherit while shaping them to meet the needs of the present. I have learned that when we embrace these responsibilities fully, we do not lose freedom, we gain direction. We learn where to place our efforts and how to make choices that reflect not only our personal hopes, but the collective hopes of those connected to us. Harmony gives meaning to responsibility, and responsibility gives strength to harmony. As I look toward the future, I carry with me the awareness that I am part of something continuous and precious. The bond between sisters will continue to guide me, reminding me to stay grounded, to stay compassionate, and to stay united even when paths become challenging. The lessons from generations before me will continue to illuminate the way, reminding me that tradition and progress can walk hand in hand, and that service becomes stronger when rooted in gratitude. Responsibility, when approached with purpose, becomes an expression of love. Harmony, when nurtured with sincerity, becomes an expression of hope. Together, they form a commitment that transcends time, one that connects the heart of a sister with the heartbeat of a nation, one that links the wisdom of the past with the promise of the future. And so, I move forward holding both, the quiet strength of sisterhood and the enduring guidance of generations. They shape my voice, my choices, and the way I hope to serve. They remind me that the most meaningful responsibilities are those carried together, and the most lasting harmony is built through understanding, trust, and an unwavering sense of purpose. Hope is something that grows quietly, almost unnoticed, until one day you realize it has shaped the direction of your steps. It is not loud or demanding. It is a steady light, often gentle, yet powerful enough to guide you through uncertainty. When I think about hope, service, and legacy, I see them not as separate ideals, but as three parts of a single path, a path that begins within, extends outward toward others, and continues long after any one person's journey. Hope is born from the belief that the future can be better than the present. It lives in young people who choose to learn, in communities that choose unity over division, and in every individual who chooses courage over fear. Hope is not naive, it is resilient. It survives challenges, adapts to change, and finds strength in small victories that often go unnoticed. It is one of the most powerful forces we can offer to each other, because hope transforms limitations into possibilities. Service gives shape to hope. It transforms intention into action. True service does not begin with grand gestures. It begins with understanding, with listening, with recognizing the needs of others, and responding with sincerity. It is a commitment to something greater than oneself, a promise to help build a future in which more people can stand with dignity, opportunity, and confidence. Service is not measured by applause or recognition. It is measured by the quiet impact of consistent effort, by the willingness to contribute even when no one is watching. There is a certain humility that comes with the idea of legacy. Legacy is not about carving your name into history. It is about shaping the world with your values, your decisions, and your dedication. It is about leaving behind something that enriches the lives of others, a principle, a memory, a foundation on which the next generation can build. Legacy is the continuation of hope, carried forward long after our voices fall silent. It reminds us that our actions today become someone else's starting point tomorrow. As I reflect on these ideas, I understand that hope, service, and legacy form a cycle. Hope inspires us to serve, service builds a legacy, and legacy renews hope for those who come after us. This cycle is what gives meaning to responsibility and purpose to leadership. It reminds us that our lives are connected not just to those around us, but to those who will someday follow paths we set into motion. There are moments when the weight of responsibility feels heavy. But when I consider the countless hands that shaped the world I inherited, I find encouragement. I see examples of dedication, integrity, and quiet strength from those who walked before me. Their legacy is not simply a story, it is a guide. It teaches me that service is not about immediate results, but about steady, committed effort over time. It teaches me that hope is not fragile. It is resilient when nurtured with honesty and conviction. Hope encourages us to look upward and outward. It allows us to imagine what could be achieved if people worked together with respect and shared purpose. Service grounds that imagination in reality. It asks us to step forward, contribute, and become part of a collective effort in which every action matters. And legacy is the proof that these efforts endure. It is the memory of all the times people chose kindness over convenience, unity over conflict, and responsibility over indifference. In the world we share, there are challenges that test our resolve, but there is also an extraordinary capacity for compassion, ingenuity, and progress. Each person, regardless of their position, has the ability to influence this world for the better. Sometimes through great achievements, sometimes through small, consistent acts of service that build trust, strengthen communities, and nurture hope. My own understanding of these ideals deepens with each experience. I have learned that leadership is not defined by authority, but by responsibility to others. It requires clarity, humility, and a deep respect for the people whose lives are touched by your decisions. It asks you to listen more than you speak, to act with purpose, and to remain grounded in the values that guide you. When you serve with intention, you begin to understand the true meaning of legacy. Legacy is not distant or abstract. It is present in every person whose life has been uplifted, protected, or inspired by someone's effort. It is present in traditions that withstand time, in institutions strengthened through dedication, and in the shared sense of identity that connects generations. Legacy grows when you serve not for recognition, but for the well-being of others. And legacy becomes hope itself, a reminder that the future holds promise because the past and present are held together by countless acts of service. As I look toward the years ahead, I carry these ideas with me not as obligations, but as aspirations. Hope encourages me to believe in what can be achieved. Service challenges me to contribute with sincerity and commitment, and legacy inspires me to think beyond myself, to consider the impact of my words, my decisions, and my efforts on those who will come after. Every generation builds upon the one before it. Each step forward is part of a larger journey shared across time. We inherit more than traditions, we inherit dreams, sacrifices, and the unfinished work of those who believed in something greater than themselves. And we too will pass something on. That thought is both humbling and inspiring. Hope, service, and legacy remind us that purpose is not found in isolation. Purpose is found in connection with our community.